Hey guys, thanks for checking out my first YouTube battle report for Infinity. If you kept track of my channel, I used to do Warhammer 40,000 battle reports, but I have actually stopped playing that game as of about a month ago to focus on Infinity as my competitive game. So from here on out, I'm going to be trying to throw up at least one battle report in video format each week. Try to pick the game that I thought was the most fun, because I usually play 2 to 3 games a week if I can. All the games I do report will also be up on my blog if you're familiar with that. If not, I will leave a description in the video link below. So with that, for today's game of Infinity, I was playing against one of the really good local players in my meta. His name is Sterling, and his Onyx contact force. I'm still very new to Infinity, so I had not played against Combined Army at all before this game. Haven't played any of the sectorials or vanilla Combined Army. So I figured it would be a good learning experience. I did know that I was going to be playing against Onyx Contact Force before the game, so I checked them out on the Infinity app just to kind of get familiar with some of the stuff they could do and all that. But I didn't know what Sterling was going to bring to the table. So no advanced information or anything like that. We decided to play Frostbyte. We have a local tournament that's coming up in November, and also one in December, that we'll be using that as one of the 3 missions. So we wanted to get some experience with that. I had not played Frostbyte before, but for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, basically there are 3 consoles along the center line of the table. You can activate them with your normal specialist, hacker, forward observer, chain of command, doctor, all that kind of stuff. And when you do, you get to activate a heating unit. There are 4 heating units on the table. One is going to be in your deployment zone, the other one's going to be in your opponent's deployment zone, and then one is going to be just outside of your deployment zone, while the last one is going to be just outside of your opponent's deployment zone. Anybody who is in a certain band on the field at the end of the game, if they are in that band and there is no heating unit activated, then the models just die unless they are your data tracker, heavy infantry, or a tag. So basically trying to turn the consoles on so that your guys don't die. And then the middle of the board is an exclusion zone, a 16-inch exclusion zone, so you can't do combat jump and that kind of stuff into it. And then the only person that will be able to survive in the exclusion zone from the cold killing you at the end of the game is going to be your data tracker, tag, or heavy infantry, because there is no heating unit there. And then the scoring, you are looking to kill your opponent's data tracker, dominate the exclusion zone with your own data tracker, activate at least 1 console. You have 1 classified objective, and you are looking to kill more army points. So for the classified, I got capture, which is not the best one for my list, but it was better than the other option, and I can always swap it out for secure HVT. So we're going to go into the list here. This is my Tohaa list. As you can see, I try to group everything by triads to make it a little bit easier to read, but the gist of it is Combat Group 1 is made up of 2 triads composed of a Galro with Spitfire, an FO Kamale, and then a McCall with the standard heavy flamethrower viral CCW loadout. So I've got 2 of those, and then I have a 3rd triad made up of 2 FO Kamales and 1 Kamale paramedic. This is kind of a backfill triad for when guys die. From the triads are going to be more involved in the fighting, so I can backfill a specialist or just a body, and then having the 2 FO guys in a triad makes them a pretty decent ARO piece. So that's more what that's for. It's just a really cheap little triad that can do a bunch of things for me. And then rounding it out, we have a diplomatic delegate, just to give me another order in case I need it in that group. Tohaa not very heavy on command token use, other than reforging fire teams, and if you go second, reducing order pools. So usually have 1 or 2 that you can throw towards a diplomatic delegate to get a regular order out of her. And then the second group, I have my ARO triad, which is going to be a Sukiel with missile launcher light shotgun and 2 Kael'tar chain of command guys. So they're just going to give out symbiomates to the 2 Gaurels, the Sukiel, and the Rasail, and then just try to stay in the back and keep their chain of command going so that I don't have to worry about loss of lieutenant too much. While the Sukiel just stands somewhere and is very imposing with his missile launcher. And then we also have a Rasail lieutenant. He has a viral combi, and then he has his little Chaksa heavy flamethrower bot guy. And then rounding it out, we have a Krail preceptor with submachine gun, smoke grenades, and 1 Serta beast with Pulsar. He's in that group because usually I'm going to be trying to do smoke tricks with the Gaurel's multispectral visor 2, so I don't want them to eat each other's orders. And group 2 is all things that are not too order hungry, with the exception of the Rasail. Usually the Suki will maybe take 1 or 2 orders, but he's primarily an ARO piece, and then the Rasail is he can go on large rampages. I usually play him, or I just put him in suppressive fire in kind of a problematic place, because most people who are experienced with Infinity won't just give him the chance to run through their army like he can. So he's kind of in a backseat position there. Move over to Sterling's list. He has main combat group, which is going to be a Xenodron with Red Fury and Blitzen, so has a nice big tag there. 2 Ichadrons, because why wouldn't you take 2 Ichadrons? They're extremely good. 2 Imitrons, so just some more orders there. And then we have a 5-man fire team core of Kurnow, and 4 Unidrons. 2 of the Unidrons are FOs with plasma carbines, and then the other we have a K1 combi and a Tinbot, and then a missile launcher light shotgun. So pretty good range bands on that. Has plenty of specialists in there. Has a hacker, all that kind of stuff. So that link's going to be pretty dangerous. And then in group 2, we have a Malignos with multi-sniper rifle, R-drone, Nexus lieutenant with the specialist operative profile, so he just has a combi and is kind of just another specialist there. E-drone, and then a Dr. Worm, of course, the med tech, and then a slave drone for him to run around. So I was somewhat familiar with what all this stuff did as we were deploying. Obviously, I didn't know he had a Malignos at the time of the game. All I saw was that there was a TO camo marker, which I actually thought was going to be a Noctifer, but it turned out to be a Malignos. So the big focuses of the list seem to be the Zeodron and the Unidron Link team, with a lot of support for them. The Malignos is certainly a good ARO and active turn piece if you need to, but it seems like the orders really want to go onto the tag and the fire team core, while everybody else provides support. He has a Evo hacking device in there from the E-drone, so that he can throw out assisted fire and that kind of stuff. Has plenty of repeaters with pitchers and the R-drone and all that. And then the Ichadrons are good ARO pieces as well, because they're just cheap flash pulse guys, but they can go get stuff done. They can refill the pitchers, all that kind of thing. So pretty focused list with a lot of good support elements. Seemed very well constructed to me. So with that, we'll get into the game. So this is going to be an overview of the board before we start deploying, just using some of the more standard terrain that people have probably seen, but painting it up nicely. So you can see here that if I switch to my handy-dandy drawer, this guy, and then there's one over here. So these are the 3 consoles that you can push the button on to activate the heating units, which are going to be here and here and here, and then there's like another one in here. So if a heating unit is not activated at the end of the game, at the end of the bottom of turn 3, like let's say this one wasn't turned on, everybody who's in this band of it is just killed, unless you are one of the tag or something like that, like I mentioned earlier. So not too intensive on pushing buttons and things like that with specialists, but you do want to get at least one, probably on your friendly side, unless you're playing a very aggressive list, then maybe on your opponent's side, so that you can have guys surviving at the end of the game. And since having more army points left alive than your opponent is a big part of the mission, that is very important. You also can destroy the heating units, but it has to be anti-material and I believe close combat only, so they're not super resilient compared to like the AC2s or anything like that in some other missions, but you do have to put some work into them. So here's just another shot of the table while we're setting up. You can probably see some of the other sides of things and all that. We did the lieutenant role, which I lost. So Sterling chose to go first. I, of course, chose to have him deploy first, and then he's going to be deploying on this side of the battlefield, whereas I'm going to be deploying on this side of the battlefield. So just make that nice and simple. And if I get my mouse cursor back, there we go. All right, so here is the Onyx Contact Force deployment. One of the I forget what they're called. I'm just going to call them evil net rods. Stuck the landing here. The other one's scattered to here. So not the worst position. They are silhouette 2, so I'll probably be able to get a guy onto it at some point or something. The other one is pretty locked down behind that building, so that one I'm pretty much just writing off as, you know, something I don't have to worry about. We have an Echidron here up on the top of the building and another Echidron here in the back, so that's where they are. Fire team is going to be back here. So they're kind of just, you know, in a more defensive position, or, you know, whatever you want to call it. Our drone is here, and then slave drone is here. And then HVT is here for Combined Army. At the bottom left of the picture, you can see right here, this guy wasn't actually deployed yet. I took this picture after we finished deployment. This was the Zeodron was Sterling's reserve model, so that's actually not there when I deploy the bulk of my army. And then Dr. Worm and the E-drone are like somewhere back here behind this building where the arrow is. I didn't exactly get their position. They kind of just hunkered down there for most of the game, but they're just back there dirtling. Okay, and then over here, yep, you can see Dr. Worm back there by the barricade, and I think the E-drone is just around that little corner where my camera doesn't see. But just another shot of the deployment zone. You can also see the HVT a little bit better there. The guy with the red cape. I don't know what the model is because I don't know what most of the models are in this game yet. But yeah, so you could see that there. And then this is just another shot of his deployment zone. You can see the TO camo marker is right here. I did not know that it had infiltrated. I was getting tokens out and things like that while Sterling was doing the bulk of his deployment, so I thought that he was just within the deployment zone. So since it infiltrated, it's not going to be a Noctifer because they don't have infiltration, but I didn't see that at the time, so that would have tipped me off that it's you know, a Malignos or something else, but just didn't catch it while he was deploying, so that's a little bit of a mistake on my part. You can see my deployment zone here. I do have some proxies this game. I'm using a Coattail and a Sakiel as the Galrels because they're being painted by someone, so I didn't have them for this game. And then the Chaxa, I forget what they're called, like the little helper bots, like ones right here. They are pretending to be Camille's with flash pulses. So a couple proxies, but nothing too crazy to worry about. Also, if you're wondering what the buttons are for, those are just to help me keep track of who is in what triad, because I like to take a lot of kind of copy-paste triads, and it can be difficult to remember who is in what as I'm moving around and things like that. So those are just for me and my opponent's clarification during the game. So pink triad is going to be one of the Galrel teams. The purple triad that you can see on the left hand side there is going to be the other Galrel team. Blue triad is going to be the Sukiel, and then the hot pink triad is going to be the Kamale one. So that's where all they are. And then I have my Rasail right here with his Symbiont. The Hollow Echo token is just to show that he's the data tracker. I don't have a data tracker token, so I just wanted to remember that. And then his little helper bot guy is right here, just prone. I wanted him to be outside of any of the lines of fire because I figured there'd probably be a nice shootout in this corridor right here. So I just want him to be away from that. And then if I want him to, he can kind of run up this flank and then maybe get the drop on somebody with a flamethrower or something like that. So that was the impetus for that positioning. And then I have this corridor pretty well locked down. I have a Galrel there. I have two FOs, so I have one here and one here. And then we have the Sukiel. The console is going to cause me some line of sight problems right here. There's a very narrow band between the tower and the console, and then of course if you are on the right hand side of the console from my perspective, it's just open season. Probably should have tucked the Rasail back a little bit more. He has a very short range gun, so 16 inches isn't going to get him very far in a firefight, and Sterling's army has a pretty good amount of medium to long range guns. He has, a Red Fury. He has a missile launcher in there, things like that. So I should have just tucked him back to keep him safe and use him for whatever I'm going to use him for. Also, I forgot to mention during Sterling's deployment, but you can see it here. If you look up at the top right-hand corner, that's where the Nexus operative that his lieutenant is. That is also his data tracker. So mine is the Rasail, his is the Nexus operative that's also his lieutenant. So he's just kind of hiding out back there, hoping that nothing bad's going to happen to him. And then here's another shot of my deployment zone. You can see the purple Gaurel team a little bit better, and you can also see my Corel Preceptor there. I probably shouldn't have put him there. I think he would have been better off maybe a little bit farther forward, but I was having a really hard time positioning all my models with all the templates that the Combined Army is bringing. They have, obviously the Plasma Direct templates, and they have a missile launcher. So I'm trying not to stack guys too much because they're going to get clipped in firefights and things. So I was maybe a little bit more reserved with him than I should have been. So that's probably something I need to take a look at in future games. And then you can also see my Tohaa diplomat just chilling out there next to that painted Kael'tar. Her job is just to watch the backfield, just in case there's any kind of combat jump or anything like that coming for me. She has a flash pulse and a nanopulsar, so she's not too bad at that for 5 points, to be honest with you. And then this is my HVT. I don't have enough Infinity models to do an HVT yet, so I just pulled out one of my orcs from Kill Team, if anybody's familiar with that game. And then he's just kind of on the left-hand side, forward by a box, not too far away from where Sterling's HVT is either. Okay, so now we get into the game proper. Obviously, the Zeodron goes down where I showed it in the previous pictures. My reserve model was the Corel Preceptor, so we're all deployed and ready to go. So first thing, I reduced the Group 2 order pool by 2. I know that the Link team and the Zeodron are both in Group 1, so they're going to cannibalize each other's orders a little bit, but I wanted to stop whatever the TO marker was from being able to have a field day with me. Remember, I'm still under the assumption that it's a Noctifer, probably with a missile launcher. Very popular model to include if you're playing Combined Army and you have access to it. So I'm pretty wary of that. That's why I reduced that group instead of the main one. But we have here, we're pumping some orders into the Link team. Kurnow is trying to speculative fire some pitchers, or some repeaters, I guess, with his pitcher onto my side of the table so that he can, hack me for Expel, very good against Tohaa, things like that, just to make my day a little bit more annoying. So he just climbs up on the box and starts firing those. Doesn't manage to land either of them because I think he was at -9 with all the mods. And then after he fails the second one, I've been flash pulsing him with a Kamel for the whole time, and I finally managed to land one. So he goes to stunned and is done doing that, at least for the turn, because that's an attack. Let's go back to this one really quick. So the Ichadron moves up and baggages the pitchers so that he can throw more repeaters in the coming turns, but obviously not for right now. And then I think that's about it from the Link team for just right now. So we switch gears and we start putting some orders into the Zeodron. He's a little bit far away from that corner, so the first order is just kind of moving him up to the corner but not poking out just yet. And then he pokes out and starts trying to shoot me. So I have... I'm sorry. Before this, there was a white noise. You can see the template in the background of this shot that was placed pretty much right where the Zeodron is from the hacker. So my Gaurel will not be able to ARO him because he has MSV2. So white noise is zero visibility zone to him unless I get shot. And then I think I had the Sukiel for sure, and I think I had one of the FO Kamels that could ARO. So everybody shoots at him. He puts the Blitzen into the Sukiel. I lose the face-to-face. The FO doesn't do anything, but the Sukiel has Veteran 1, so he's immune to being isolated. which Sterling just forgot about. So we run it back. He switches to using the Red Fury. I continue using the missile launcher. So he's at -9. I have mimetism and cover, and he's at bad range band, where I'm just on straight 13s because I'm in good range, but he has cover. So with 2 shots to his 4, I'm fairly favored because the Zeodron needs 4s, I need 13s. He has more dice, of course. So I'm feeling like this is a good fight for me. Unfortunately, right off the bat, take a crit from the Red Fury on a 4, lose the Symbiont mate, go to Symbio inactive, which for the Sukiel means he doesn't have the mimetism either. So now the odds are a little bit better for the Zeodron. Flash Pulse continues to do nothing, and then we just pump some more orders into the Zeodron. Eventually he manages to knock the Sukiel unconscious. This is really bad for me because the Sukiel is by far the best model I have on the table to deal with a tag. My options are pretty much to pump missiles into it, which I now can't because the guy's unconscious, or get up there with like a McCall or something and stab it to death. But their BTS isn't nothing, and I would probably have to involve another model to get extra burst, plus all the orders for rolling smoke and all that kind of stuff. So right off the bat, I'm at a little bit of a disadvantaged state, and I'm just, a little afraid that this Zeodron is just going to run the table on me. So we then go to Group 2. The Tio Camo moves out a little bit. I hold with everybody. It reveals that it's a Malignos with the multi-sniper. He has a go at one of the Kamales, but he's going to be eating a couple Flash Pulses as the AROs, and I managed to crit Flash Pulse in the face-to-face, so the Malignos is stunned just as soon as he started coming out. Really lucky for me because he had cover, Tio Camo, and Surprise Shot, so the one that he was targeting, I whiff because I need 1s, but he whiffs the shots as well, and then one of the just normal roll ARO pieces manages to crit him, only needing, I think, a 4. Yeah, because he only was dealing with Tio Camo and cover. Oh, no, probably a 7. Yes, it was a 7 because I'm in good range as well. So in any case, the Malignos is kind of scurries back to where he came from because he's stunned and he can't do anything, at least anything of importance for the turn. Oh, okay, and then that's pretty much it for Onyx turn 1. The Link is still in the middle of the table. They took a couple orders, doing the pitchers, and then the Icadron took 1 to refill, and the Zeodron I think took like 3 or 4 orders, something like that. So he's pretty much done with that pool. The Malignos was obviously going to be the thing that did a lot of damage for him in the second pool, but he got stunned. So the Group 2 orders go towards the Nexus operative, who just pokes out like a little bit more, so I can actually see some of his base, but not just his gun. And then he goes into suppressive fire. So he's just kind of stay alive, locking that down a little bit. And then I believe overclock or whatever the one is that gives you burst 2 on your rems that are repeaters in the reactive turn. That one goes out as well. So the R drone will be able to do 2 flash pulses instead of 1 on my turn. So we go over to Tohaa turn 1. I'm down. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm down 1 order because the Unidron team did kill one of my Kamales with the missile launcher guy as one of the orders that he just had remaining. I didn't have a good picture of that. Sorry. So I'm still relatively intact. But I have to deal with this tag, or he's gonna next turn probably start moving up or something with the white noise to cover him from the Gaurels, and unless I get lucky on like a flash pulse or something, he's just gonna go on a rampage. So looking at the table, I have the Kamale team, which is still intact. One of the Kamales died from it, but the paramedic is still around. So I just give her a couple orders, move her around to where the Sukiel was, and try to shoot off a med pack. Miss. Move again, shoot a med pack at him, miss, and then on the last order I was willing to part with because I think I ended up pumping 4 or 5 orders into this from Group 1. I just go base to base, and fortunately the Sukiel passes the physique roll, no -3 because I have Symbio armor, and then he's back on his feet, only being down 1 order from Group 2 because he was unconscious at the start of the turn. So we get the Sukiel back up. He starts pumping missiles into the Zeodron. I get like a crit in there, and I win most of the face-to-face rolls. End up using all the orders from Group 2 except for one, but I do fully kill the Zeodron, not unconscious or anything like that, which is really important because obviously with the slave drone right there, he could just move over and bring it back up, and then I'm pretty much right where I started again. So really wanted to kill it during my turn when it has ineffective arrows and stuff like that, and it ended up working out. So that being done and my way being cleared a little bit, I move over to the pink Gaurel Triad. We just pop out a little bit and we start moving up. You can probably see this model's base right here. That's the Kamel FO that's in the Triad. So he's moving forward, the Gaurel's staying back a little bit, and the McCall's just chilling. I'm trying to get the Kamel in range of the console so I can get a console really early because I don't have that much to do offensively right now. The Link is in such a position, the Unidron Link, that if I try to challenge it, without smoke or something like that, then I'm just going to get blasted. So I just wanted to get the console on this side and get the ball rolling there. So we move forward, pump a couple orders into the Gaurel, and I ended up just moving once and then shooting each time, which allows me to take out the R drone. So even though he's getting 2 flash pulses and then he's plus minus for range and cover, I'm just plus for range because he's not in cover. So it's 13s versus 15s. I have 5 shots because I have a Spitfire. So I managed to win those face-to-face rolls. And as I'm moving the Kamel up to push the button on the console, I shoot it a few more times just to get it fully killed. Again, I don't want the slave drone to bring it back online, and I have these extra orders as I'm moving towards the console, so I figured why not keep shooting it, and it worked out. So just go back to this one really quick. So I do end up pushing the console successfully with the Kamel, and then I kind of move everybody else back a little bit. I don't have the orders to move the Kamel all the way back where she started, which is going to be like right around here or something. So she kind of just like chills here using the tower, which we play as solid for total cover. So if anybody comes around the corner, she can flash pulse them. She's not going to have cover and stuff, but I'm kind of doing the best I can. Whereas the Gaurel just moves over back a little bit here so that he's covering like this line, but he's not super exposed. So let's switch back. Cool. And then we go over here. With the last Group 2 order, I just moved the Corel Preceptor a little bit, just preparing to kind of get him into the game in future turns. And then you can see this is the healing unit I decided to activate, so it's the one that's just outside my deployment zone. That's where I figure most of my models are going to be at the end of the game. I don't really have many things that are going to be in my deployment zone except for maybe the Sukiel team and the Diplomat. So I can move the Triad out with orders, and the Diplomat, if she dies, it's not a big deal. She's only 5 points, so it's not that problematic. But you can just see this is kind of an overview of this side of the board. And then this is so this is not the best shot, but this is where the Kamel that just pushed the button is. So you can see that. The tower right here is this. We play this as solid, so there's no seeing through it or anything. So somebody would have to come around the corner, and then I can FO them, and then the TO guy is right here. So as he comes out, I can try to flash pulse him as well. So she is providing some arrows, not in the best position to be honest, but I just did not have the orders to get her back after how order intensive it was to get the Sukiel up, which fortunately ended up being worth it because I was able to kill off the tag with that. So that is the end of my turn, I believe. You can see here that the R drone is missing and the Zeodron is missing. So I managed to punch through on the right flank a little bit, but with the Link still alive and so many orders that he still has remaining, I didn't kill that much stuff. It's going to be a nasty turn 2 from the Onyx. So we go into that. I believe Sterling uses a command token to move something over into Group 1. I think it was the E-drone, but I don't remember, to be 100% honest. So he just wants to have full orders in the main group. Now that some of the good pieces of the secondary group are gone, the R drone is gone. The Malignos has shown that he's hasn't done anything on the first turn, so maybe being punished for that or something. So we go over to the Link team, and they just start moving towards the right-hand side. No one can really see them as they do so until they pop out, because they killed that one Camille who was able to flash pulse them and try to slow them down a little bit. So they're just moving around. Try to throw another repeater onto my side of the board. Not spec fire this time, but still at like I think like a -3 or something, and it doesn't manage to stick it. So Sterling says, "Screw it! I don't have the orders to just keep trying to land these repeaters and refilling with baggage and stuff like that." So just gives up on it and starts moving them to the right here, as you can see. And then ends up eventually getting to this position, being very careful with his positioning. So Kurnow and I believe this is one of the FO Unidrons, they're basically seen this way. So nothing can see them that I have unless I move forward. And then we have the missile launcher guy right here. He is just barely peeking out. He can see over the slave drone because the slave drone is size 1. So he has a nice line of sight to my Rasail, not my Sukiel, just my Rasail and my Gaurel that are on that side. So obviously going to start taking some missiles to the face here. And then the rest of the fire team is just in the back behind this building, rocking like, a K1 combi and some other guns that aren't, effective at this range band, so he just doesn't want to put them into too much jeopardy or anything like that. So we can see here there's quite a few face-to-face rolls here. Starts shooting missiles at me, sometimes putting one on the Rasail, one on the Gaurel. I was in suppressive fire with the Rasail, but I'm too far away for it to mean anything, so I'm just dodging with him, whereas the Gaurel is shooting back, because that's what he's better at. Before we got into the firefights, the Evo hacking device did put, I think, assisted fire, the one that gives you marksmanship 2 and shock, onto the missile launcher Unidron. So he is super buffed up right now. He's got extra burst from fire team with 3 members. He's got +3 ballistic skill from fire team with 5 members. He's at good range. He's ignoring my cover for purposes of hitting, and then pretty much ignoring it for armor as well because he's using blast mode. So this thing is like on 17s before any negative modifiers. Very, very scary. So I managed to lose the first couple face-to-face rolls. I'm burning the symbiomates on the Gaurel and the Rasail just to get out of jail, because taking a missile is not something I'm interested in. A couple times we bounce off of each other, things like that. But what eventually happens is the Rasail takes a missile to the face, manages to only fail 1 armor save, which was very good dice on my part. And then he kind of gutses to the side, because the Gaurel was about here. So the Rasail is in his final position, as you can see. So through this line, the missile launcher was not able to see him anymore because we're both size 2. So I could guts over to there. And then the Gaurel eventually is getting worn down. He I think he takes just one. Yeah, he just takes 1 wound from a missile as well. You can see he's Symbiont inactive, and then he kind of gutses back this way just to get out of line of sight. And at that point, Sterling's pretty much out of orders, so it's not like he can keep pumping orders into the Rasail right here to try to finish him off, which is good for me. Really good dice for me on this. We like I said, we bounced a few times. I made a dodge with the Rasail, some things like that kept them around. In most circumstances, I would probably expect both of these models to have died because of where I kept them, unless the Rasail could like dodge better or something. So it's definitely some positional mistakes for me, but fortunately did not end up being as devastating as it could have been. So here you can just kind of see the final position of the fire team. Sterling reorganizes them a little bit so that they're not in cover. There's not a lot of cover for them to have without going more forward than they actually can or want to, because remember, I still have the Sukiel up, so if they start crossing to like over here, that's when I start launching missiles at them, and that's really bad, especially for a fire team. So he's sticking more to this side, and he's watching going to be watching this corner with these 2 guys. So this is going to be an FO dude, and this is going to be Kurnow. So got some plasma stuff there. This guy moves forward, who I believe is also a forward operative, or yeah, he's also an FO. And then the missile launcher guy is back here. So although he doesn't have cover on any of these models, including the missile launcher, who move forward just a little bit, he has that alleyway super locked down, just because there's at least 4 models that are going to be able to get arrows on me if I try to come forward and don't have smoke or something like that. So I'm a little pinned with some of my stuff in there unless I can break them out. As far as the rest of the orders, I believe the Malignos comes out again and whiffs and gets hit with another flash pulse, so he kind of just goes back to his cave and is doing nothing. The Ichadrons are just chilling, all that kind of stuff. So not too much going on other than the Link Team shenanigans. I do believe that there was a coordinated order to put a lot of the non-Link Team stuff into suppressive fire, so like the Nexus Operative, which you can see in the upper right-hand corner, the E-Drone, I think Dr. Worm, I don't remember what he has for a gun. Just a couple guys like that. Anybody who could be in suppressive, put into suppressive, just so that I can't rush him down or anything like that. So that's what's going on there. And I think this was just a shot kind of showing... Oh yeah, no, so this is my turn. So turn 2, I make several pretty big mistakes. You can see in the background here that that's where the Link Team is, the Unidron Link Team. So they're just chilling right here. So I have a few different ways to break out from this. I have access to smoke, obviously, with the McCalls and the Corral. I have access to guns and things like that. So what I do is I run the math really quick, and I decide to move the Sukiel just a bit and try to shoot some missiles at the Unidron missile launcher. The reason I did this is because the template would also catch the slave drone, which would be helpful because Dr. Worm is very far away from the Link Team, so it's going to be very hard for him to bring them back if I knock any of them unconscious or anything like that. So that's a little bit of a prize. And then there's also one of the FO Unidrons, so I can get a specialist off the table. And you know, the Unidrons are REMs, so they're not particularly good at dodging, and then they don't have good armor, so explosive is very likely to just, you know, do a lot of damage to them. What I forgot to account for was the fact that he still had assisted fire up. So instead of me being, so I'm plus minus for good range and cover, and then he would have been plus for range, minus for cover, plus for big team. And then he's also ignoring my cover because he has assisted fire. So that kind of threw the math out of the way. It wasn't a good decision to begin with. I should not have done this. I got a little too greedy with the template and things like that. He's actually Sterling's actually slightly advantaged in this face-to-face roll. And then what happens is I whiff both of my shots, so I don't even get to lay the templates down, even though I would lose the face-to-face. And then the Sukiel just takes missiles to the face and gets completely obliterated. So not even unconscious or anything for me to bring him back. So as it often is, if you've been wargaming for a while, my Galrel that was here decides to just kind of be brave and go forward. He's eating arrows from like 4 guys. So I decided to put 4 shots into the missile launcher, 1 shot into the FO who has a plasma carbine, and then I let the other guys do whatever they want. Galrel is completely obliterated, as you would expect, from all these bonuses that the guys have for the team and all that kind of stuff. I do manage to fully kill the missile launcher Unidron, so that's good because you can't bring it back, and it also you know, gets rid of the +3 ballistic skill because there's nothing else you can bring into that team or anything like that. So that was, I mean, a small win there, but losing the Galrel for that was just not worth it. What I should have done is spent a couple orders on Group 2, not even done anything with the Sukiel, and then just dropped like a smoke with the Corral, you know, probably right in here or something. So the team does have 6 Sense, level 2, for being in at least a 4-man link, so they would ignore the -6 for firing through the smoke. But I'm going against a missile launcher that would be hitting on... let's see here, I think 17s. So 2 shots on 17s. I would be 5 shots on 15s. So the dice aren't that bad. And that would have been the smarter way to go, because then if I do kill the missile launcher, or if I choose to start with somebody else, I could start with somebody who's not an assisted fire and doesn't have a long range gun, like one of the plasma carbines or something. All I would be doing is whittling the team down until they lost 6 cents. And then I can, probably put like another smoke up here or something, and I can really go and just probably X out this whole fire team core. But that's one of the weaknesses I've had in playing a Corral, is I get a little too focused on certain parts of the board sometimes, and then I don't see that there's an opportunity for a smoke and MSV2 combination there. This would have been a really good one. Like I said, the first one or two face-to-face rolls would have been maybe a little dicey, because I'd probably go like with one of the carbine guys or the K1 combi guys, something like that. That would be at like -3 overall, or probably -6 overall, where I'm going to be at +3 overall. So they would be hitting on 5s, I'd be hitting on 15s. I have way more shots, that kind of stuff. So that would have been the way to go, but that's unfortunately not what I did. And then to make matters even worse, because the Galrel was here, and some of these guys have plasma carbine and stuff like that, there was a nice template that got put from the Galrel right into my Rasail, who was back here. So the Rasail also ends up dying, taking like 2 armor saves and 2 BTS saves, just gets completely smoked. So that's just an unforgivable mistake. I could have easily spent the data tracker order, lieutenant order. I'd already spent a lieutenant order, so he Sterling knew it was my lieutenant, and it's pretty obvious anyways. Or even just a group 2 order, whatever I have to do, just to move the guy a little bit to the right. And then all he could have done is just like hung out in this corner or something, dropped into suppressive fire, just done something to be useful instead of just getting killed for free. Again, this is the first time I played against Combine, so I just forgot the fact that their guns are basically like shotguns, where they can template mode you from the guy, and I just got caught out like that. So while I did manage to kill the missile launcher, it cost me my Sukiel, a Galrel, and my Rasail, which is pretty close to 100 points. So that was just a complete disaster. So we go here, you can see the missile launcher guy missing. The remaining members of the team were just kind of chilling here. Didn't even break the link or anything, because the missile launcher wasn't in charge on the last order when he repositioned, which was very smart of him. So I really just didn't get that much out of that particular order pool. So switching gears, staying in group 1, I moved the other Galrel's team forward. There is a ramp that we took down just so I could move guys easier, that was right here. So the Galrel just goes up on top of the on the building. He is eating flash pulses from both of the Icadrons as he does so, but I'm putting like 3 and 2 into them, winning the face-to-face rolls because we're both in good range. I'm having cover some of the time as I move. He's never having cover, and I just have weight of dice. So luckily managed to win those. I didn't care that much if the guy got stunned. All I'm trying to do is prepare for the Onyx turn 3, so that I could try to keep him off a console and things like that. So that's really all I care about. The Galrel being here means that he can see all 3 consoles. So he can see this one, he can see this one, and then there's a narrow bridge where he can see under this this bridge right here and see the 3rd console. So now I have a Spitfire, arrow piece in position, which is reasonably threatening now that there's no more missile launcher and the tag is dead. So there's not a ton of things to go at him with. He still has a Symbiont mate and stuff, so he's ready and willing to fight. I also have the McCall from the team and the Kamale from the team. Just right here, the Kamale is kind of covering multiple angles with her flash pulse. The McCall is just kind of standing around in case I need smoke or I have to go after somebody in melee or something. And then being here with the Kamale also means I can get a second console if I think I need one, like if I need to keep my deployment zone from being affected by the killer cold rule or something like that. And then using just the last few orders, I move the Corral Preceptor and his Certabeast forward. So the Certabeast is covering sort of the forward area with his Pulsar. Pulsar is not the best right now, just because the Unidrons have BTS 6, so they only need 8s to pass it. But it might give him some pause, and if he gets too close, trying to save orders, I can always try to engage, something like that. And then the Corel Preceptor, I really wanted to put him into suppressive fire, but I did not have the orders left to do so. So he's just kind of watching that that angle. He has a submachine gun, so he's not going to be good. But it's just another shot. Maybe I can get lucky or something. I'm just trying to put things into place to give the Onyx army some pause about just going for that console, which they need. And then with the last orders in Group 1, I kind of keep the Camille where she is, just down there, but the McCall moves forward so that, again, if anybody is trying to get to this console, he's going to have to contend with a nice flamethrower here, or I can, dodge to engage, which will just ruin all the plans, because there's nothing that's good in combat that is left alive in the Onyx army. I don't think there was anything good in combat to start with, so that would be a major roadblock. Just hoping to slow him down and playing for the mission at this point, even though I had such a disastrous active turn. So we go to Onyx turn 3. I believe the last 2 command tokens get spent moving stuff into Group 1 so that it can have, I think, 9 orders. So Group 2 is pretty desolate at this point, but Group 1 is still pretty healthy. Obviously needs as many orders for the Link team as possible to get the win. First thing is Dr. Worm activates, Slave Drone moves up and revives the Ichadron. Not really sure why he went for this play. I don't think the Ichadron's on a specialist, and it's not going to get anywhere meaningful to absorb any kind of arrow or anything like that. Like if I had some Mines Lane or something like that, I can see getting him up so that the Wormbot and him can kind of diffuse that stuff. Or if I had like a really good flamethrower positioning, anything like that. But none of that stuff was on the board, so I'm not sure why this order went towards getting that Ichadron back up. As you can see here, the Unidron team is starting to move out, being very careful with their line of sight. So the guy who's just peeking out right here is only able to see this Camille. Remember, everything else in my backfield kind of is dead, so I'm real short on arrows. I managed to win the face-to-face, so he gets stunned, which is good for me, because that was one of his specialists, so just one less specialist to try to get one of the consoles with. This, there we go. All right. So that guy has to retreat a little bit. Somebody else kind of takes charge, comes down here, kills the Camille with an order. Don't manage to win the face-to-face this time, but took 2 orders out of that. Then he puts another order in. I think this is the K1 combi guy right here, and he's just gained some line of sight on the McCall. I can flamethrower him, but it's going to be just him, and then I'm very likely to die because he's still in a 4-man link, so he has a burst 4 combi. He's at good range. I don't have cover anymore because I'm extremely impetuous because my triad broke. So at best I'd be trading 1 for 1. So I decided to try to go for the engage. Unfortunately, with the roll, so the McCall gets shot, goes to unconscious, as you can see right here. So I have absorbed like 3 orders with all that stuff, but not slowed him down as much as I was really hoping to. I don't know why I took the second shot. So the problem now is that if Sterling goes for the console right here, he has to go this way. And I'm gonna be able to shoot him with the Galrel and with the Corel Preceptor. So that's a lot of arrows to eat with only 6 orders left. Now, of course, he can just position himself like here and then run forward in 1 order and just push it and hope for the best. But that's a little bit risky because if he fails, very likely that model dies. And he's running out of specialists. There's really only there's a blind FO in the link, there's a regular FO, and then there's the specialist operative character. I forget the name right now. So he would have to spend like another one order bringing one of them up here, and then another order, going to the box, and they all have bad armor, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely risky, and then not having access to smoke is, there's really no way around doing that kind of stuff. This is just kind of illustrating the line of sight that I have to the console. You can see the console there in the upper right a little bit. I have two guys watching it, as well as the Kamel FO that's on the left there. So not like the best on all of these as far as range bands go and stuff like that, but I have a lot of dice, so it's really just off-putting to go for that try, and he doesn't really have the orders or the ability to reposition the link to go for like the middle console or anything, because he'd have to deal with the Certabeast who's going to try to engage him, and then I still have the arrows with the Gal Rail and all that kind of stuff. So he's in a little bit of a pin position. So yeah, this is just another big shot of the field. So what ends up happening is the Ichadron here gets an order, walks down this ladder, and then just goes to here, which I think I have a shot of. Yeah, so you can see that he just goes here. Again, not sure why this was done. I think he was going for like a flamethrower play or something like that to try to clear that objective out. But it ended up taking him like 2 orders to get there, and what happened was, I think, I'm a little foggy on this part, but I know the Ichadron ends up going down again, and I don't take any damage or anything like that. I think the Certabeast dodged, and then the Corral Preceptor killed him with the submachine gun and just passed his saves or something like that for the flamethrower. But in any case, that plan doesn't work out. So these guys are still, watching the middle console, and we're kind of back to square one. So what he decides to do, running very, very low on orders, is just use the lieutenant order, use the data tracker order, that kind of stuff, and get his Nexus operative to this position, which is sort of in the middle of the board, so he will be dominating the exclusion zone, and then put him into suppressive fire. So he's just trying to get the points for holding the exclusion zone with your data tracker, which I think is 3. So just doing what he can. Neither of us have fulfilled our classified at this point. He's not going to be able to get secure HVT because I have guys around my HVT, and I can easily get guys around his HVT, although they would die to the cold, so that's kind of neither here nor there. He doesn't have any consoles hacked, and I'm certainly up on army points at this point. Even through my disastrous turn 2, like, re-killing the Ichadron and stuff, all he has left is 1... No, both Ichadrons are down, so all he has is the Link, which is missing a guy, the Nexus operative, the Malignos, and like the Slave Bot, Dr. Worm, and the E-Drone. So I'm like a little bit ahead on points, or maybe we're like pretty close to even or something, but I do have another turn left. So what we do is we don't actually play out the last turn, we just talk about it, because Sterling felt that he was in a very disadvantaged position, which I would strongly agree with, because what's basically going to happen is I can just... there's a couple ways I can go about it, but the easiest way is just to give orders to the Corral and the Certabeast. They start going this way, smoke across this alley, and then they just get into combat with the Nexus operative and probably tear him apart. The Certabeast is CC22 with the viral combi. The Nexus operative is like CC16 or something, with like a knife, so it's nothing special. I have Dogged as bad luck insurance, and I can also get the Corral into base to base for the extra burst. He has Symbiont armor as bad luck insurance, so it's extremely likely that I'm going to kill the Nexus operative, which will net me points for killing the data tracker and remove the Onyx's points for holding the exclusion zone. And then I have more than enough orders to get the rest of my army into the band for the one healing unit that I have, which is this one. So you can see like the Galrail's team is already there, some of the Kamels are already there, stuff like that. Pretty much most of the things I have left alive are already in that band. So I don't have to move them too much, and all I can do, or I can spend the rest of the turn just picking up some more points. Probably would just go for the Link some more, using either like smoke tricks or something like that, and then just pull back when everything's done. but I don't really have to do that anyways, because since Sterling got no heating units, his entire army is going to die except for the data tracker at the end of the turn, from the scenario special rule. So at that point, I will definitely have kill more army points, even if the data tracker stays alive, which we both agreed. We didn't roll it out. He didn't want to, but we both agreed that it was very likely the data tracker would die. So that would be a tabling, and then I think I have another shot of. So here's just kind of the state of the board. You can see that the Kael'tars we need to move up a little bit to be in the heating unit. So with the diplomats, all that kind of stuff. But I have the orders to do all that. I can do it without exposing myself to arrows, just by going like this way, climbing down, that kind of thing. So there's nothing to be done about any of that stuff. And then that'll pretty much be the end of the game. So so this is the last shot. So what ends up happening is Onyx get points for killing my data tracker, which is 2. I get points for killing the data tracker, which is 2. I get points for hacking a console, which is 1, and then I get points for having more army left alive than my opponents. So it ends up being a 6-2 victory for Tohaa. I was trying to find a way I can get my classified done. Again, I either need to do secure HVT, which I can't because his HVT is in the zone where you definitely die from the cold unless you're data tracker, tag, or heavy infantry. I have none of that stuff in my list left, so that's not going to happen. And then the only other thing I can do is get a elite troop, veteran troop, or chain of command into base to base with a model that's completely within his side of the table. So that might have been doable, where I can get one of the Kael'tars up here into base to base with the Ichadron. That was possible, but again, the game was kind of decided. We're not playing for anything like in a tournament or anything like that. So me knowing that us knowing that I got the win is really all that matters. But I think if push came to shove, I could have made it a 7-2 to get the major victory, because worst case scenario, I get one of the Kael'tars up there, I do the classified, and then I just let him die to the cold, like if I don't have the orders to pull him back or something. It doesn't matter, because as long as I have one model left alive, I'm going to have more models alive than the Onyx army. So with that, that's the conclusion of the game. So I ended up with the win, like I said. Some of the mistakes that I made, I definitely touched on. The big ones were in turn 2, just throwing bad decision after bad decision, losing the Sukiel for absolutely no reason, and then not playing as intelligently with the Gaurel as I could have to one, limit the arrows by using the smoke and just focusing on one guy, and then kind of whittling away those fire team bonuses until I maybe had them at like a 3 or a 2-man link, and then I can go after the missile launcher because it'll no longer have 6 cents, so it would be -6 for the smoke. I could maybe get into a bad range band for it, like a +0 or something. It would still have assisted fire and all that, but if I can get some of those bonuses stripped away, maybe even the extra burst, I still have a very strong chance of winning that winning those face to faces. And then even if I don't feel like going after the missile launcher, I can just kill the rest of the guys, like finish off the specialist operatives and all that kind of stuff, so that all the Onyx army would have had over there is their data tracker lieutenant to try to go push the console, and that would be an extremely risky idea. With me having like a missile launcher still left alive, me having a forward Gaurel, that kind of thing, just probably not going to go his way. So I could have had a much more crushing victory if I'd done that. Probably would have ended up being a 10-0, or not 10-0, probably like 10-0 or a 10-2, something like that. Because the only points that I gave away were, stupidly having my my Ursail like right here, and then my Gaurel here, and then it just gets blasted from the small templates. So everything about that turn was a complete disaster. I did manage to recover it just a little bit by moving so many models into really good ARO positions to hold off that last turn rush, combined with the fact that Sterling, for whatever reason, wasn't able to really go after one of the consoles early. Wanted to go more for gunfights and kind of whittling me down that way. So me going for the console really early in the game ended up being a really good play that actually made it much easier to win the game, because I didn't have to worry about that going forward, and I could devote my orders to offense and defense. So that I'll give myself a little bit of credit for that, but overall probably didn't play the best. Got bailed out by some fortunate rolls, the Sukiel getting back up thanks to the paramedic. That's like a 55%er, I think. So not the most sure thing in the world, and then managing to kill the tag on turn 1 with not too many orders to play with, like 4, so that was fortunate as well. Some of the flash pulses I got off, taking the Malignos out of the game, that was very lucky. Just things like that kind of kept me in it, even though I was making mistakes of my own. On Sterling's side of the board, I think that there were a couple mistakes. Like I said, not going for a console early on, particularly in the early game. If you look down like the center here, he had pretty much carte blanche to do whatever he wanted. I did not have really anything to ARO with over there, so he could have just quickly grabbed a console or something, and then kept going to be able to eventually shoot me. So that ended up with his most of his army dying. If he'd had a heating unit activated, then most of his army would not have died, and I would have either had to destroy that heating unit, which is I don't really have anything that's anti-material in my list. I could have switched the McCalls to being double action close combo weapons, but I didn't. So I either have to do that, or I would have to kind of tally up my points, try to figure out what he has left on the table, and then go after some things to kind of tip that balance, which is there's dice involved at that point and stuff, so who knows what could have happened. So definitely opportunities for both of us to get a win or a bigger win, as my case may be, that just didn't materialize. But really good game, really fun firefights on the right hand side of the board, a lot of cool synergy stuff from the Onyx army that I thought was really cool to see. Kind of reminded me of a 40k army, going back to my miniatures roots, with all the overlapping abilities and stuff like that they can throw together onto guys, make them really strong. So that was cool. And then just learned a lot about Combined. Got to keep Plasma in mind, that kind of thing, what their guys can and can't do, all that good stuff. So I think next time I play against Combined, I'll be just a little bit more prepared. And we actually did make preparations to play another game in the coming week with me against his Morat army, which I believe is his main faction. So probably won't see as loose of play from that, and hopefully I can tighten my play up as well. So that was the first of hopefully many battle reports in video form for Infinity. If you have any constructive criticism, comments, stuff you like, stuff you didn't like, I would definitely appreciate hearing that. I am trying to get the production value up of these videos just a little bit, so there will be some more slides and things like that, and music and all that good stuff. So just let me know, what's working, what's not, and I'm trying to make these the best they can be. It is a lot of work, so I'm trying to get kind of a formula down so that I can crank them out, once per week, and then throw them up for people to enjoy. So yeah, like I said, if you have any comments or anything like that, please drop me one. Don't be hesitant. And if you prefer reading battle reports, like I said, check out my blog, which will be in the video description below. I do all my games in written form, and then I'll do some of my games in video. So if you want to see the exploits of my Tohaa army, including games that you've missed, go ahead and check that out, and that would be fantastic. All right, I will see you guys next time.